So at Lab for Living, critical exploration can take different forms and are also based around artifacts. Artifacts that will maybe tell a story and provoke the audience into new debates, or maybe wonder what if things were different, or what if we could think differently about an issue, a problem. So instead of being a problem-solving kind of design, we are also a problem-finding and kind of like raising awareness on current issues. So the organ design scenario within the project Raw Aviv is bringing awareness on genetic editing, and it was in collaboration with a tissue engineer in London, and this scenario is aimed to provoke the audience and engage them into the ethical debate around genetic editing and designing a body. The aim of this project was to bring awareness to the audience, but also engage them into the bioethical debate around genetic editing and the creation of and design of a body. I would say that creative provocation is almost an approach of design in itself instead of an aim, and the provocation is embedded into the approaches and the method that I used. And for me, creating objects that will be using as critical artifact or as a diegetic object, so they tell a story, the story of this what if things were different.
Within Lab for Living, we adopt a critical design approach. It's a kind of growing area of design research, and it doesn't just focus on the solutions. Critical design is really using design as social commentary to kind of put a different perspective on the world we live in, and also maybe a future world we might end up in. So within the context of critical design, where we're using design to kind of provoke thought, inevitably there is a kind of inclination that there's going to be a shift of care in the future from the hospital to our homes. And this is driven, one, by increasing pressures on hospitals that are unsustainable, but also that will be enabled by technology. So a question is, what will this future healthcare look like? And one of the inquiries we're looking at in Lab for Living is not only what the future care will be in this shift from the hospital to the home, but what will our homes look like? There's a fine line between, I think, provocations through critical design and flights of fancy, where we're looking at kind of science fiction and a future world. So a lot of the objects we're utilising are very familiar, and often the chair is a humble object we're all familiar with, but we're seeing it in a context we're not familiar with. So we look twice because we think we've seen it in that format before, but we haven't. The objects we're using Lab for Living are carefully considered in terms of it's set within the real world as we know it now, but it's slightly unfamiliar to make people look and inquire. So in just creating a humble chair, which is familiar in every household, there are decisions to make. They're more or less the same. We've got 4 legs, a seat and a back. But there are guidelines to indicate some parameters in terms of the kind of dimensions. But even within those parameters, there are many, many permutations. And if you get them wrong, it can feel uncomfortable. So very small differences can make a big difference. So the small chairs to my side just show they're all different. Every single one of those chairs is marginally different, and it's a piece of critical design, just opening up this space of discussing, how did we design everyday objects and consider the user. The value of artifacts, physical artifacts, is they transcend boundaries of culture and language. And they can be often more accessible to individuals and communities than traditional academic research methodologies.